Hi, this is John Harcher, and welcome to episode 24 of Valleys of Numenor. We're up to episode 4 of Foundation, and the cracks in the Empire are beginning to form. How much longer will it hold together? Will the foundation be in place before it crumbles? And how does Harry Seldon plan to direct all this now that he's kinda dead? We'll see how far we get in this episode. Episode 4 Barbarians at the Gate. Literally. As Gal makes it clear, psychohistory can predict mass movements, individuals' fates were a mystery. As that's going on, Brother Dawn tries to commit suicide in front of a servant by jumping off his ledge. But the force field protects him and he lands harmlessly. Who knew they had force fields? But the girl's a little freaked out. On a far off planet, a high priestess is dead, I think, and they set their version of the white smoke out to let everybody know that there's going to be a new one. Brother Day is being visited by some kind of courtesan. He seems bored, but she tries to touch him, but the force field protects him too. See, who knew? Then he tells her to try softly. She's able to then get through, which finally gets him excited too. But then Demerzel Interruptus happens and he has to go to the throne room. Word comes to them that the high priestess Opal of Luminism has died and Zephyr Galat will take her place. Or so they think. An outsider, Halima, wants to return to the old ways where the emperors were not supreme. This doesn't make them happy, and they discuss their next move at dinner. The older ways claimed every individual has a soul, but if one person can only have one soul, what does a clone have? See how this might cause some problems with these guys? We then go back to the end of the last episode with Salvor, Hardin, and the Anacreons. They want to be brought to the vault, and if she won't do it, they'll capture one of the children. She takes them over to the fence that surrounds the outskirts of the vault. She figures out how to get one and only one of them through, so she takes the leader, a woman with a scarred face, and gets her through. The two take a speeder and head towards the vault. And sure enough, the sonic force knocks the Anacreon out. Hardin takes the alien to her parents, and they discuss if they should try to reach out to the Empire and tell them about what's happening. Brother Dawn is drawing a picture of the girl he saw in the garden and has the Shadow Master find out her name. Kind of creepy stalkery for an emperor. Meanwhile, Hardin has her people arm up to protect themselves in case the Anacreons attack. She wants to know why Farah, their leader, is really there. She tries coming at her hard at first, then tries to sympathize with her as a victim of the Empire. All she gets, though, is the woman wants death that she screams in an ancient tongue. But Salvor notices a name in her rant. Hardin realizes she is the great huntress, heir to the bow the emperors returned to the Anacreon ambassador after the Star Tower was bombed. Brothers Dawn and Dusk are watching the chaos that's beginning to engulf Trantor. Day enters and says the communications link to the outer reach has gone dead. Dawn does not think it's an issue, but Dusk mentions it's related to Terminus. The three then watch the trial of Harry Seldon, where he practically spells out the issues that are taking place around them right now. Back on Terminus, Louis Perrine is upset he didn't get a chance to talk to Farah before Salvor because she's one of those pesky individuals psychohistory doesn't account for. She throws back at him that every time she wanted to do something to prepare for a crisis, he said no. Now they're unprepared and have to deal with the crisis. Louis goes in to talk to Farah, and they find out that the Anacreons were the ones who took out the communication link to hide from the Empire, or possibly bring them. Meanwhile, the rest of the barbarians encircle the city. Brother Dawn finds out the girl's name is Azura, and she comes from a line of gardeners. He confronts her in the garden and asks her what she saw that day outside his chambers. She says nothing but offers a plant to help with pain. He takes the leaf and goes to his advisor to ask what it is. She confirms it's exactly what the girl said and even eats some to show that it's safe. Back on Terminus, Hardin goes to confront the Anacreons, but has a vision she's on Trantor and meets the boy who led her to them the night before. She figures out it must be the vault trying to tell her something. Brother Day has the mathematicians in to see if they've come up with anything about Selden's predictions after, 35 years of trying. The leader says they think the predictions are counterfactual. The emperor asks why. He gets a load of blathering large words that don't answer his questions, so he asks, what are the chances all the prophecies they said weren't possible but are now coming true could come true? He said the answer is very small, but not zero. Not the answer the emperor wanted to hear. He attacks the group and gives the leader a heart attack, and he drops dead right in the throne room. Brother Dusk is preparing to leave for the luminous planet when Day stops him and tells him he has to stay. The rule has been the middle clone has been in charge and never left Trantor, but Day replies when Dusk was in charge, all the bad things they're dealing with began, so he should stay and handle them. Dusk then orders the communications be checked and the Foundation be paid a visit. In the garden, Dawn is using a new toy, little dragonfly robot drone, to spy on Azura. Again, really creepy, dude. Outside the fence, the Anacreons are assembling something. Lewis is still talking to Farah, who keeps insisting she just wants the module from the old ship. They need to leave their planet before it's destroyed, and they won't stop at anything to make sure it's done. Salvor tries to figure out what their plan is before the weapon goes off, but can't. Suddenly, we find the Star Child, I mean Gal, in her escape pod heading for her vessel. When is this happening anyway? Now? Then? Later? This episode really begins to play up the concept of Selden's plan that masses are predictable, but an individual is not. Which is good because it's very important to the end of the story. Not sure we needed the additional bit of Hardin having some kind of telepathic powers, but it may play into the story later on when there's another individual with telepathic powers that shows up. And over in the newer part of our story, this is the episode where Lee Pace starts to earn his paycheck. He really embodies the desperation of someone seeing everything he knows slip away and will now do anything to maintain it. Kind of like the Grand Huntress Farah, they're two sides of the same coin, which is a plot point earlier during the interrogation scene where Salvor does her best George Raft imitation with a coin. Solid episode overall. Next time we find out exactly what Gal has been up to all this time 3 episodes ago. Almost forgot she was there. Please hit the subscribe button if you like what you're hearing. I'm John Harchard. Thanks for listening.